afternoon. My name is John Brock, and I'm a product manager here at Salesforce. And thank you for coming out. This is a session on high-volume platform events. So just to level set, who here maybe went to my session yesterday about asynchronous Apex triggers? Oh, a couple people. Thank you. Thank you for being here today. And how about the rest of you? Anyone else worked on platform events, created them in your DE org, done a trailhead about them? Okay, all right. Few shy people are putting their hands up. That's great. So this is a session that's going to be along a very similar line as our session yesterday. Matter of fact, the demo is reuse, so don't boo me off stage if you see the same code, but it is a slight modification and a more deep dive on platform events themselves. So why are we talking about platform events and eventing? This is really where Salesforce is investing as a company, and that I've sort of staked my career as far as event-driven concepts for you, our customers, and our platform. So I own platform events, change data capture, and also the other outbound messaging options we have, outbound messaging, Apex callouts, and some of those other tools. No one has seen this slide today, and my friend at the back actually told me a funny story. We had a new hire starting at Salesforce, and we like to kind of razz the new guy, right? And so they told him, every time you get on a customer call, you have to read word for word the slide. And then we kind of messaged and said, no, that's not true. We're just kidding with you. And then his boss said the same thing in the one-on-one. And so his first call that he gets on, he reads the whole slide to a whole group of MVPs. And the MVPs were on the Slack channel just talking about this guy reading the whole forward-looking statement slide. So I'm not going to read it. Basically, it says, only purchase what we have today, not what we're going to ship in the future or what I may promise in this session, which is hopefully going to happen, but it may not. So to kind of set the stage for event-driven architectures and our concepts here at Salesforce on what we want to enable you to build, think about your mobile devices in your pocket today. All of you have a connected experience with the brands that you interact with. Think about your Starbucks app, right? You open that up in the morning, it tells you what your history is, you get a recommendation on a new coffee that you may like more, it looks at your GPS location, tells you which store you should order from, you pull out your phone, you click order, it's done with Apple Pay, you pay for it, you walk up to the store 5 minutes later, that coffee's out on the counter, you pick it up and you're really happy, right? That's a pretty seamless experience, and it's a pretty great experience that just starts your day in a really good state, right? That experience is very connected, it's very real-time, it's very integrated between you as a customer and your data. How many of you have that experience at your company, right? Single sign-on is kind of as far as we go, right? After single sign-on, you've got data in different sources, you're making an Excel file and you're trying to munge data together. Your integrations aren't real-time, they're batch-based, they're ETL-based, and we're really stuck, kind of stagnating in this model of old integration paradigms when we really should be shifting to more event-driven paradigms, and that's what we want to enable with platform events. One really easy example that I really like, and it's easy to explain, is the Uber app. So when you open that app, a lot of different things are happening behind the scenes that you're not even aware of, right? When my mom opens the app, she has no idea that it's doing fraud detection and billing checks and geolocation and profile verification and all of these other services, collecting metrics, doing A/B testing. All those different services are orchestrated through events. They're not individual API calls from your phone back to the Uber server, right? It's all event-driven. They're providing asynchronous responses to these complex calculations that are happening. What about when you say request ride? What's that doing? That's posting an event to Uber's event bus that says John is requesting a ride from this point. That gets broadcast or delivered to all of the drivers around me that could potentially give me a ride. Imagine if I did that here at Moscone, my phone would have to send 100 point-to-point API calls to the 100 white Priuses within a 2-block radius, right? Imagine if I had to call the black Priuses too, right? It just doesn't scale. So rather, we have this event-driven model where the event is published to the bus and then delivered to the receivers that care. The driver, in turn, accepts that ride. When they accept that ride, that gets received by your client device, but also all the other drivers around you, indicating that the ride has been serviced. Right? So pure event-driven, there's no point-to-point integrations, there's no one-to-one API calls. If a driver pops up on the map, they get the event. If they're not, they don't. Right? My client device does not have to make an individual call to every specific device that's around me. We all know and love sort of the landscape that we work in enterprise architectures and enterprise models. We have multiple orgs, we have complex data, we have complex systems, we have a lot of legacy, maybe proprietary data and other sources. And how do we wrap all this together without creating dependencies, without creating a system that we just can't maintain? And we try, right? And so we start with all these good intentions, right? We start as a new company or in a new IT department, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and we think, we're gonna have these few systems, we're gonna document well, we're gonna have these well-defined contracts, Salesforce is gonna know what SAP does, SAP knows what Heroku does. They all understand each other. If I refactor one, I can understand how to refactor the other, and there's not too much risk here. We probably don't have this model. We're probably moving up this complexity mountain to a more interdependent, highly coupled system. And there's a few nods out here, so I can see this is resonating a little bit. That suddenly we move from this model where we can understand and reason about to this model that all systems are dependent, highly connected, and interdependent in ways that we don't understand or even know or maybe even realize. It doesn't stop there, unfortunately. It gets even worse. So imagine when you have multiple cloud service providers, on-prem databases, custom applications, Salesforce and Azure and Heroku and AWS and Twitter and whatever the case may be. Suddenly, you're refactoring code or you're shipping a new app. 4 days later, a business user calls you and says, there's a regression, I can't complete my job. And you have to trace back through 4 days of changes to figure out what upstream broke that downstream system that's not even related to what you were checking in. So not only does that hamper your ability to innovate or iterate, but your business just grinds to a halt because now you're worried about regressions rather than new business value. So how do we shift from this model that's highly connected to a model that's more event-driven and publish-subscribe based? So in this model, Salesforce Event Bus at the middle is serving as that broker of events. So Salesforce is publishing an event to the bus, and then AWS, SAP, Heroku, Oracle, they're receiving those events in real time, processing them as they wish, executing the logic that's specific to them, right? If I was to pull out Oracle because I didn't want to renew my contract or something along those lines, I could pull that out. That doesn't impact my AWS implementation or my SAP implementation, right? It just stops receiving those events from the bus. Similarly, if I plugged in a new integration, I would just plug in for the events. I would receive those events in the new integration. The other systems would continue to work as expected. That's why we introduced platform events about 1.5 years ago. So we introduced platform events as a first-class Salesforce object in the Salesforce platform that's highly coupled and available to all the platform features that we expose, very similar to custom objects. So if you go to the UI, you create it the exact same way. You can do it through the metadata API exactly the same way. You can publish and subscribe on platform with all our great tools. So you can use off-platform through our data APIs to publish or subscribe. We also have declarative point-and-click tools using Flow Builder and Process Builder, where you can subscribe to events, trigger different business processes, or you can publish an event from those tools, allowing business analysts and admins to now take action on these signals that the developers are publishing. Or you can use Apex and write Apex triggers just like you write triggers on S objects. You can write those on events. Additionally, we have eventbus.publish where you can publish the signals that you choose. And finally, strongly typing. The reason I call this out is this really differentiates our event offering from a lot of the others in the ecosystem of technology. So normally when you're interacting with eventing systems, you're interacting with loosely typed key value pairs, right? For a lot of companies, that's difficult to use. It's prone to regressions. It's hard to manage schema changes. But with strongly typed metadata in a whole schema management system that we offer on the platform natively, you get all those benefits of strong typing and highly integrated experiences with our eventing offerings. So a very simple example is Salesforce here on the left publishing a platform event. This platform event represents a deal being closed, right? That deal being closed is going to trigger a number of different actions in the system. Maybe it's going to kick off an update to our AWS customer inventory portal so that they can see a real-time view of the inventory in our system. Maybe on Heroku, I have a custom application that's sending SMS push notifications, alerting the customer about their order being shipped. And then at the bottom, I have Oracle updating invoices and SAP closing some reporting for our end-of-quarter financials. But Salesforce is also a subscriber here with Process Builder, closing out that case that was associated with the original request from that customer to purchase that part. So that kind of brings us to the current state of platform events and gives you a nice little overview of event-driven architectures and why, I personally think eventing is so exciting for not only Salesforce as a company, but for you, all of our great platform customers. So now, what is the new frontier? And the new frontier is high-volume platform events. And we're excited to announce that high-volume platform events is now available in all orgs if the org has API. And by default, as of spring 19, all your new platform events are high volume by default. So by default, included with your org licenses, you can build highly scalable, highly performant, event-driven systems using high-volume platform events. But it gets a little better. We've swapped out the whole infrastructure behind platform events to create this new offering, but everything else is exactly the same. The APIs are the same. All the code you've already written is exactly the same. All the concepts that you know and love with platform events stay the same with high volume. The only difference is that on the back end, our infrastructure now can support tens of millions of events per day per org. Right now, up here, I'm very comfortable telling you we can support 20 to 40 million events per day per org without really any sweat. We're looking to increase that 50 to 100 million in a couple releases. And so we're really taking on these scale use cases that are unique and business critical for all of you building out platform applications. So I told you that Salesforce is investing in high-volume platform events, but how? How are we doing that? If you came to the session yesterday, you heard about Change Data Capture. Change Data Capture is the most robust, reliable, high-performance, low-overhead way to capture and detect changes on all of your Salesforce data. When a data change happens in your Salesforce org, we publish a Delta event to the event stream in the form of a platform event. So just like you can write a platform event, we can write platform events from Salesforce core application. We publish those as Delta changes. You can subscribe to those Delta changes and then synchronize your downstream systems or orchestrate different business logic, maybe order fulfillment, based off of those data changes happening. Another item here is real-time event monitoring. So one of the product managers who started the event monitoring project is at the back. A lot of you know and love event log files and 1-hour ELF or 24-hour ELF. But we're moving into a new realm, right? Suddenly that 1-hour delay on your events isn't quite good enough, right? You need real-time alerting, and now we're able to deliver that with high-volume platform events. So all your API report events, report run events, usage events, performance metrics, we're now publishing those in real time to the event bus so that you can take action on them, alert on them in real time. And then an interesting internal use case that maybe you're not aware of is Einstein activity capture. So a little look under the hood here. Einstein is running on totally separate machinery than the core Salesforce application. Maybe you realize that, maybe you didn't. But the Einstein predictions need to happen in a very horizontally scalable cluster because those calculations are very resource intensive. So what platform events do is we signal from the core application to Einstein. Einstein, there's new data, there was a new action, there was a new signal. You need to calculate a new prediction, right? So we publish a platform event to Einstein. Einstein does the calculation. When it's finished, it asynchronously publishes an event back to Salesforce and the core application to update your predictions so that you see that updated Einstein prediction in near real time. But it's all asynchronous and event-driven rather than point-to-point driven. And then additionally, there's more coming. So as you start seeing release notes, you're going to see more and more features be built on platform events and come through our event bus. And we're really angling internally, not only for features we expose to you, our customers, but also features we build ourselves to build in event-driven ways so that not only we can scale, but also your features and your implementations scale much more effectively. How are you, our customers, using high-volume platform events today? A number of customers are using it for a variety of different things. I've just picked out a few. The first is around process orchestration. How are you triggering your other downstream systems in real time based on signals happening from your Salesforce org? We don't want you to write custom objects. We don't want you to create point-to-point call-outs where you're making individual API calls to all your different dependent systems. We want to avoid that process of you having to write all this plumbing overhead. Publish this signal to the event bus, let your other systems that need to consume that signal subscribe and take the action that they need. External system signaling is similar to the Einstein case, but a number of you might have Heroku doing complex calculations or off-core compute, as we refer to it as. That off-core compute needs to be triggered by something, right? How do I signal that async or that long-running compute that's running outside of Apex on a different platform? Maybe it's Heroku, Azure, AWS, on-prem. How do I trigger that? I can trigger that using high-volume platform events. Additionally, when they finish calculating the result, they can publish the platform event back to signal that that's done and orchestrate maybe a process builder, a flow, a DML update inside your org. Logging and monitoring is another great use case where customers are now creating their own metrics and their own alerts that are published from their Apex code or their process builders or their flows that signal and tell a specific story. So a very large customer that's in hospitality is publishing events about usage. And one of their findings, so they publish the usage metric, ingest it into their internal Splunk instance, have dashboards, have alerting, and they view that every single day to see how their employees are using their Salesforce instance. What they discovered is they're now able to use those usage signals to staff for holiday weekends and holiday periods. And what they found was some of these holidays that are really hard to predict, like high school graduations, they can now predict because they have the historical data from their signals in the past. No longer are they waiting on a calendar. They can see these signals from the past year and predict how they need to staff their call center in the future. And then the third is around async decoupling. So hopefully you've heard of unlocked packages and packaging 2.0, few head shakes. But it's basically this concept of removing all the unmanaged, all the tangled metadata from your org and creating packages around it. Creating isolated boxes around that metadata so that they can be individually deployed, updated, rolled back, without doing a full deployment of all your org metadata. And that's great. That's a great concept. But how do you associate those packages and have those packages interact with each other? Platform events are a great way to do that, where platform events signals can be pushed out from a certain package and received by another dependent package and take action whatever that package might need to do. An example is maybe there's a prediction package that's doing some sort of calculation that publishes a signal. Then you have a separate package, which is your notification package, and that's posting an email or posting an SMS or a Slack message. Those two packages don't have anything to do with each other. I'm calculating a result and sending a notification. They shouldn't be intermittent, right? If I want to change notifications, I shouldn't change my business logic that's making the prediction. So a few new exciting things in summer 19 that I'm excited to talk about. The first being our #1 feature request for platform events for AfterCommit platform events. So this is changing or adding a new publish behavior to all existing and new platform event definitions. So currently today, when you publish a platform event, that platform event is published outside of the context of your transaction. What that means is it's great for errors, alerting, monitoring, things that are not related to the data being committed in the transaction. However, a number of customers ran into a few interesting races where the transaction was committed after the platform event was delivered, right? Because they're two separate processes. The event is published and the transaction continues to process. But the receiver of the event received the event before the data was available. Or if the transaction rolls back, your event has still been published, which is great for error handling and alerting and monitoring. It's not so great if you're trying to signal an account change that was rolled back. Now your dependent system thinks that data has changed, and you have to handle that mess, right? But now you have one step in the UI or metadata API. You can select AfterCommit publish behavior. Once you do that, we only publish the event after the transaction commits successfully, and you can ensure that when you receive that event, the data associated with that event has been committed and is available to be queried. So this should unlock a number of problems, or a number of solutions, I should say, to problems that were being experienced. The next is, my clicker is still working. Uh-oh, we skipped 2. Is Advanced Trigger Options. So we're investing in Apex Triggers for platform events. The first investment we're making is a new resume checkpoint feature. This allows you to, inside your trigger execution, set the replay ID of the last event that you processed. Oh, I'm getting a clap from the front. Perfect. So replay IDs. You can now use replay IDs effectively in your Apex triggers. Little known fact, you can receive up to 2,000 events in one execution of your platform event trigger. That's a whole lot more than 200 object rules. So you have to be very careful about limits, about usage and hitting limits and having rollbacks or limit errors. But now, if you're checkpointing as you go through and iterate over that trigger.new list, you're checkmarking, hit an exception, the execution stops. When the execution resumes, we resume from the last checkmark. So now you can resume from that point in the stream that you left off. Potentially for other subscribers coming soon. It's not available in summer though. The third and big announcement is around Lightning Web Components. So as you saw, we open sourced LWC this TDX. We also have support for the empAPI API component. This is the UI component that lets you subscribe to event streams in your Aura or LWC components without you writing any framework, any code, without importing any static resources. You simply use the empAPI component. That does the subscription handling, and you're able to receive events in your UI in real time for all of your users to build these really interactive next-gen APIs and UIs. So now for the demo, I'm going to do something new. I'm actually going to ask someone to come up and help me. So this could go really poorly, but I figure, how do you add more, complexity and unknowns to a demo? You invite someone who's not prepared to come up and help me. So it's very painless. You don't have to know platform events. The only prereq is that you've created a custom object in Salesforce before. Is anyone interested? Oh, okay, great. Come on up. All right, so to set the stage a little bit, what we're going to be doing is we're going to create a platform event that represents an account status. So when a case is logged against an account, we're going to make a prediction on whether that account is in a good status, a green status, or a red state. That signal is going to be published in the form of a platform event, which our friend here, who graciously volunteered.
Oh, Will Craig.
Oh, you can introduce yourself.
I'm Will. Hey.
Let's give a hand for Will for stepping up. So Will is going to create a platform event. That platform event is going to be triggered when we make a prediction about the accounts themselves. And then that is going to then be subscribed to by an off-core subscriber and also on platform using a process builder. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. I'll take the mic from you. Hopefully you don't have to give my slide deck for me, but we'll see. I'm using Scratch orgs, and hopefully we're all familiar with Scratch orgs. This is a brand new one that I just signed up. So what Will's going to start to do, and I have no idea who Will is. He wasn't a plant, just to be clear. He's going to create us a new platform event, and he's going to the setup screen, going to platform events. Looks like he's done this before, maybe.
Yes.
He has. Ah, perfect. All right, so we're going to create a new platform event. And Will is going to give it whatever name he wishes related to an account signal. Again, no magic. He can come up with his own name as long as it's appropriate to be recorded.
Account signal.
Account signal works for me. All right. And at the bottom here, you can see the new publish behavior. So we're going to keep that as publish after commit, which is the new summer behavior, because we're going to be publishing this event from a trigger, which means it's being published from a transaction, and we don't want to deal with all the transactionality and rollbacks that may occur. So Will's going to save this.
All right.
And then we're going to add 2 custom fields. The first custom field is going to be a text field, and it is going to be the account ID that we're making the prediction on. And the length can be 18. Yeah, and we can save that. Looks good. And we're going to make another text field that's called rating. So again, this is live demo. I haven't prepped Will. Pretty exciting here. We'll see what happens. No guarantees. Don't ask for your money back.
I was made for this.
he was made for this. This field is going to be called rating. Rating. 20 is fine. Yep, we're going to save that. Okay, perfect. So Will's create our platform event. Looks perfectly created. What we're going to do is come back over here to the Salesforce CLI, and we're going to do a source pull. So we're going to get that new definition of that platform event back from our org that we just created. So we're pulling the source down here. This is using source tracking, which is a new feature from our metadata team, and very exciting new addition to the CLI so that you don't have to keep track of what metadata has changed in your org. You can just pull that down and have it in source form. You can see here we pulled down Will's account platform event, account signal platform event, and also those 2 custom fields. So now what we're going to do is we're going to, if we can find it, we're going to switch over to VS Code, and we're looking at the case change trigger. So this is just a regular Apex trigger on the case object. What it's doing is it's collecting the case IDs. No magic here, right? Not doing anything special here. We have a red account predictor. This is just going to predict, is my account in a red state or a green state? And then we're going to figure out from those predictions how we want to notify. So we're going to publish a platform event. So you can see here I have a placeholder AA under E. But now our new object, if we look here, account signal, you can see it's been pulled in. We're going to call this account signal under E. All right, looks good. Code review passes. Good. So we're gonna do that, and then we have a permission set, so we're just gonna update this here as well. All right, so we've saved that, we've updated it. What we're going to do now is we're going to deploy that. So all we're going to do is a source push, and we're going to push all that metadata that we have in our VS Code library here in our module into the org, into the source org. All right, so it's completed. That's great. So now what we want to do is we actually want to see if that signal is being published by our case trigger. So what we're going to do is we're going to subscribe using our local machine here on the terminal on the right-hand side. But this represents a system in your enterprise on-prem or in the cloud subscribing to the event stream and taking actions that they wish. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to subscribe to the event channel account signal under E. And I'm subscribing from -1, which is the tip. That represents all new events from the point that I subscribe. All right, so now you can see we've subscribed successfully. So now we're listening on our local machine or our on-prem service to receive all these account signals so that we can trigger a marketing action or a customer discount or a follow-up from our account rep based on when this account turns to the red state. So what Will's going to do is Will's going to get us a new account created. And we really don't need any information in here other than the account name.
Any specific?
No specific name, Will. Whatever you wish.
I'm going to be very lazy.
Oh, Trailhead name. All right, that works. No judgment here. All right, so now we have this account created. And what we're going to do is we're going to create, as you can see here, let's just point out that the rating field, just take a look at that. That's empty right now. We're going to fix that in the future. But let's go ahead and go to that related tab. And let's log a new case. So we got a call from Trailhead name or Trailhead new, and they have an issue. So we got a phone call case origin. It's phone at the top. Yeah, otherwise we'll get an error.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then we're going to, what's the priority? What did we set that?
Priority is medium.
Okay, great, medium priority. And we're going to save that. Okay, perfect. So now we created that case, and what you can see here in our on-prem system, we received that error alert. So Will created that signal. In real time, we published that signal based on that case trigger. We received the signal that says account with ID rating is now green, right? That's fantastic. That's already giving us a lot of business value. All right, let's switch back. Let's edit that case from this related little drop-down. I think you can, yeah, or you can go here. And let's just change the priority to high. All right, save that. And we should have a new signal that our rating is now red, right? So now we elevated that case status to a high priority, and we get a red alert on this account. That's wonderful, great, but what about us needing to take action using a process? So Will is going to, this is a little advanced, this is the expert part of the session. Will is going to create us a process using Process Builder that listens to that same signal and updates the account field rating to be set to the rating from the platform event. Let's see what he's going to do. He's going to bring up Process Builder. I'm going to create a new process. He's going to give it whatever name he wants. Account signaling, Will's process, doesn't matter.
Oh, signal.
You don't, it doesn't matter. He's going to trigger this on a platform event. So rather than being triggered on an object or a different action, we're using platform event. He's going to add the trigger. He's going to select Will's platform event that he just created, account signal. Again, deep platform integration here with platform events and process. And we're going to associate it with the account object. And we're going to find the account ID. And that is going to equal an event reference to the account ID field that we populate on the account signal. So what this is doing is it's saying when my account signal platform event comes into Process Builder, I get that signal, I look at the signal, and I look at the record that's associated with that event. So I find the IDs, I match it, and I pull in that account that I'm signaling on. So once I have that, I'm going to add a decision point that's going to be always. So I'm just going to say always, and then no criteria. Save that. And then we're going to have an action. That action is going to be a record update. And we're going to say update account or update rating, whatever we wish. And so it's going to be, yes, the record that started this process. And what we're going to do here is the rating field is going to equal event reference, the rating status from the platform event. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the signal, and then I'm putting the rating value from the signal into the account record. I'm going to save that. The other thing we want to do is let's add one more quick one that's just a quick chatter post. So we're just going to say chatter post to this record. And we're just going to say, Will's signal was received. I'm going to save that. And we're going to activate that process. All right, activate that. And now Will is going to go back over to his case. Your second tab, yeah. And we're going to update the priority from high to medium. Now that case has been downgraded in status, it's going to medium, so it should now be in a green state. So we updated that. We're gonna refresh, or we can drill into the account. We look at the details page. Let's refresh here to make sure that the cache is cleared. Go to details, and look at that. The rating has been filled in. We should also have a chatter post. Perfect. Will's event was received, and we've now had that signal be processed by an admin or a business analyst. But I, as a developer, am publishing that signal from my Apex code that I wrote using CLI or whatever tool that I wish. So now I'm able to allow my admins, my BAs, to extend the functionality that's coming out of the code that I'm writing so that I don't have to go and write a process, or I don't have to write an API to hook into, or I don't have to write a new object and a new trigger and a new way to start this process builder. They're listening for those signals. Those signals are available to them to do with however they would like. So Will, thank you very much. Great job. And just to emphasize, on the AfterCommit platform event, taking a look at here, if we wouldn't have AfterCommit publish behavior in this trigger, if the trigger hit an exception after this line, after line 24, and rolled back, so the case wasn't actually updated, I would have still published that platform event in the current state with publish behavior immediate. That's probably not what I want to do because I would have updated the account to the wrong status. But now with AfterCommit platform events, I don't have to worry about any of that handling myself. I just change the publish behavior and everything's handled for me by the platform. So with that, we have just a couple minutes, and the favorite slide for a number of you is our roadmap slide so that you can see where we're going with platform events and where we're investing. You can see here, summer 19, we have the AfterCommit platform events, LWC and Apex triggers that we talked about. Winter 20, we're looking at adding more trigger options, so specifically Apex trigger run as user, so that you're no longer running these Apex triggers as the automated process user, which will resolve a number of permission-related hiccups that you might have today. We're also looking at creating a unified events UI. So I can't tell you when exactly it's going to come, but you'll be able to manage all of your events from one UI and see all of them together along with platform event channels, which are exposed for change data events, but not quite there for platform events quite yet. Longer term, we want to deliver filtered subscriptions so that when you subscribe to an event stream, you can provide a criteria that says, I only want to receive account signals from Will when the rating is red. I don't care about the green signals, so I want to optimize the events that are delivered to me. That helps me at Salesforce because I'm not wasting the bytes being sent to you. It helps you because you're no longer having that event counted against your allocation for the day. So filtered subscriptions to optimize what you're receiving. The standard volume to high volume conversion question is in there because there's existing events that you have that you need to get to high volume. We're not deprecating standard volume platform events. You can continue to use them if you have them already defined. Any new event will be high volume. And as you go forward, if you don't have these standard volume events defined and created and deployed to production already, I would encourage you to do the conversion before you deploy them. If you've already deployed them, don't worry. We still support them. In the future, hopefully there'll be an easier path. The problem is the infrastructure is totally different. And so if you want to maintain your 24 hours of retention for standard volume events, I have to move those events to a whole nother infrastructure stack, which provides 72 hours of replay. But moving those events is very non-trivial. And so that is hopefully coming. It's not currently there today. There are some strategies, if you're interested, that you can ask me about to make that a little bit easier. And then finally, longer-term event persistence options, maybe cross-org eventing, maybe an inbound streaming API, and hopefully some new protocols so you can subscribe to platform events using maybe AMQP or Stomp or MQTT or some of these more well-known streaming API formats. So with that, we have 25 seconds left, so I just want to direct you to a few platform event resources. We have a couple trailheads. I will say the instant notification app is near and dear to my heart because it's a bear watch application, And I recently, in the fall, had a bear come to my cabin in Lake Tahoe, so I really love this one. We also have a CDC path, and there's more info in the platform point downstairs. Thank you very much for coming out today. My name is John Brock. If you have any questions, I'll be down here and can answer anything after.